The church is under attack. If you think that's hyperbole, it's time to wake up. Faithful Catholics are being persecuted by the hierarchy. Catholics who attend Mass every day, read their Bible every day, pray the Rosary every day, Catholics who attend the Tridentine rite of the Mass, and Catholics who seek reverence in their churches no matter the rite. We are all under attack. Authentic Catholicism is being attacked. While blatant liturgical abuses run rampant in parish churches, the bishops do nothing. It is time for the faithful to stand up for the faith. The Catholic Church is the church militant. We are soldiers for Christ. It's time to act like it. But we must fight an unending spiritual war against secularism in the world. We must also recognize an internal struggle within the Catholic Church. A struggle to preserve the authentic faith, against wolves in shepherd's clothing, against infiltrators within the hierarchy, against heretics and schismatics building the counter-church, the ape of the church. The death of Pope Benedict XVI has served as a catalyst, launching a more public struggle within the church. After the funeral of the former pontiff was botched by his successor, tensions have risen even higher. Adding insult to injury, as much of the Catholic world mourned Pope Benedict's passing, Francis's Vatican didn't even offer the customary lowering of the flag for its former leader. Some in the Roman Curia have seen this final insult to Pope Benedict's legacy as the final straw that broke the camel's back. Upon Pope Benedict's death, his personal secretary, Archbishop Ganswein, and the former prefect for the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, Cardinal Mueller, have both announced new books exposing this behind-the-scenes war for the faith. Pope Benedict himself had orders in place to release his final book upon his death. This has really angered the deep church, the new establishment within the Vatican, which has made efforts to derail the launch of this book. All three of these books work to expose the corruption within the church and attack Francis and his allies for facilitating and covering this up. Cardinal Pell, who died just a few days after the former pontiff, is quoted as saying, "We must end this toxic nightmare in the church," in response to Francis's war on faithful Catholics. This is not just about the traditional Latin Mass, but about the authentic faith as a whole. While the German bishops run their own synod, trying to out-radical the radical modernists in the Curia, here in America, we too fight on the front lines, especially with the modernist point man in America, Cardinal Blaise Cupich. America has been described by some anonymous bishops in Rome as a beacon of hope for the future of the church, with the vibrant resurgence of the Tridentine Rite and young people embracing Catholic traditions. It is because of this that the modernists have clamped down so hard on authentically Catholic priests and parishes here in America. Last year, Father James Altman from La Crosse, Wisconsin, was suspended from his parish and had his faculties revoked by his bishop, William Callahan, for simply preaching the truths of the authentic faith in a way which was deemed divisive and controversial by the modernists. Last November, Father Frank Pavone was laicized, completely stripped from the priesthood, for his activities in the pro-life movement and for causing controversy against the will of his bishop, Cardinal Timothy Dolan. But here in Chicago, we face the epicenter of this fight. Cardinal Blaise Cupich has been on a warpath for the last year to transform the church in our diocese, to wipe out that spark seen by traditionally minded bishops in Rome. In December of 2021, he announced his plans to implement Francis's vision for Traditionis Custodes. He banned the traditional Latin Mass from all but one approved diocesan parish, in a diocese of over 5.4 million Catholics. He demanded that this ancient rite of the Mass not be celebrated on Christmas, Easter, Pentecost, and the first Sundays of every month. He forced the Institute of Christ the King, an independent religious order, to close their doors to the headquarters of their religious order, doors Cardinal Cupich had no right to close. He has even gone so far as to attempt to force parishes who celebrate the Novus Ordo Mass in a reverent way with respect to Catholic tradition to abandon saying the Mass ad orientem, to install freestanding altars, and to face the people. He wants to do away with Gregorian chant and communion rails. He would like to strip the Mass of all reverence if possible, make it completely unrecognizable to our ancestors. Yet while he does all of this in an attack on faithful Catholics, he does nothing to stop the liturgical and Eucharistic abuses that are running rampant in his archdiocese. In Cardinal Cupich's Archdiocese of Chicago, liturgical abuses are commonplace. Bubbles are blown at the foot of the altar. Guitars are used to mock Christ in place of a monstrance. Gay men are allowed to give the sermon on Father's Day. Sacred words are changed in a way that threaten the validity of the Mass. The Eucharist is given to politicians in a state of public scandal. Faith in the true presence of the Eucharist has all but been abandoned by the people. While all this happens, Cardinal Cupich does nothing. He instead focuses on punishing the good and faithful Catholics who enjoy the Mass of the ages. He calls us schismatic? No, sir. You and your tolerance of the mockery of Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church is schismatic. I am praying for you to repent. I am praying for you to correct the errors of the radical pastors in your archdiocese. I am praying for unity in our church, unity with the saints who came before us, but never unity with error. We must admonish the errors by the hierarchy. We must point out abuses by local priests and pressure the hierarchy to act. We must pray for this time of crisis in the church to pass. And we must remain rigid in our faith, not bending the knee to the teachings of the modern world. Be obedient to Christ, his teachings, and the deposit of the faith passed down to us through his church. We must be unapologetically Catholic. My views are my own, and I do not represent any groups I work with or promote. That being said, if you are in Chicago and want to join us in praying for Cardinal Cupich to have a change of heart, you can do so at the monthly Chicago Rosary Rally for the Latin Mass on the first Saturday of each month at 11 a.m. outside of Holy Name Cathedral. This Saturday marks 1 year of doing these rallies, and we will keep doing them for the foreseeable future. So I hope to see you there. Take care, and God bless.